Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, and in this video we're going to be doing something a little different today. I want to talk to you guys about the villains of Season 1. So Season 1 is coming to a close and Season 2 is rapidly approaching, and there's definitely a lot of characters that kind of got the most hate over Season 1. Were they always the strongest characters? Maybe, maybe not. But, you know, perception has to do a lot more than actual tier strength in this. We're going to be going through a list here of some of the villains, the most hated characters of Dragon Ball FighterZ Season 1 in somewhat chronological order. And we'll do an honorable mention because some characters maybe deserved hate a bit more than these guys you're about to see, but they didn't quite get it in the end. Anyways, let's start off here with our first villain. So, in the first few months of Dragon Ball FighterZ, who was villain number 1? Well, yeah, it was Goku Black, and by a lot. Goku Black was pretty much at the top of every single tier list, you know, regardless of actual, you know, how we now perceive things now, because actually some people rate him low nowadays, despite the fact he hasn't even really changed. I still think he's pretty alright, but regardless, he definitely wasn't the number 1 be-all, end-all character everyone perceived him as early on. And why was he perceived as the number 1 be-all, end-all character early on? Well, this had a lot to do with it, to say the least. So we now refer to this as the 2H of the gods, because when it comes to down heavies in this game, he's definitely still basically got the best one. Like, that hasn't really changed, you know, especially compared to some other people here. This is the 2H of the mortals versus, you know, the 2H of the gods. So yeah, the main reason he was perceived as a villain early on and why he was so reviled early on is just simply, hey, you know, down heavy. He had a very easy combo structure. It was not too complicated. Like, this is, you know, this kind of same combo structure a lot of characters can do, but, you know, it was a very perceived easy means perceived strong. So a lot of easy use in combos and stuff. And plus, you know, he had this instant transmission. And for a lot of people early on, as we're getting the hang of the game, this was like kind of seen as almost unbeatable. Nowadays, it's like whatever, right? But back then, it was definitely a lot harder to deal with as we just weren't used to how the game worked. So big normals, you had a beam, you had the unblockable grab here with the beam, and just general easy use. A lot of people could easily pick into him. You know, it's a lot easier, especially in the first few months of the games, to like understand how he works versus, say, understanding how Kid Buu worked. So he was definitely perceived as the strongest early on, and everyone kind of hated him for it. So Cell overall in the history of Dragon Ball FighterZ is probably the single most reviled character, as Cell, like, as you know, his wanted poster says, his crime is perfection. The only thing you could fault him for, really, was the fact he was a tall character, thus was susceptible to some of the tall character specific combos and mix-ups. But other than that, like, complete moveset, amazing normals, amazing mix-ups, you know, like best overall beam in the game, some might say. You know, built-in, no bar needed side switch mix-ups into, you know, an assist into a combo, right? He could basically do everything, and Cell has eaten nerf after nerf after nerf, and right now, after multiple nerfs, Cell's still one of the better characters in the game as it currently stands. So, was Cell justifiably hated for being too strong? Well, you could say the argument is, it's not the problem that Cell's too strong, although I thought he was just a wee bit strong personally, but the argument wasn't that he was too strong, it's just compared to a lot of the other characters in the game, he was just so much more of a complete character, right? I find the most recent balance patches, like the last few we've had, have gone to great lengths into making, you know, certain other characters a lot better than they were before, because, like, the examples here, Beerus and Nappa were downright wretched before. Beerus is better off, he's still not amazing. Nappa, he's better off, he's still not amazing, but still, definite strides from being like two of the worst, absolute most wretched, rotten characters in the game, right? So, Cell's crime was just, for the most part, hey, I can do everything really well, and a lot of characters struggle to find their place in this game. Now that said, once again, maybe he did everything, you know, well, a little too well. I always said his damage is a bit too high. His toolbox is really good. Obviously, his combo structure is amazing. And he has everything, but, you know, that's in the end why he was resented, because he was absolutely, as far as this game was before all the nerfs, and hey, maybe even a little bit after the nerfs, he was the guy who basically could do everything. Bardock. Now, Bardock is another, honestly, reviled character in this game, for better or for worse. And a lot of what he came to be hated for, he could do for quite some time before the popular opinion turned on him. While everyone was being mad about Cell, Bardock could do his level 3 mix-up, you know, on day one, right? All these mix-ups existed on the day he launched. Just, you know, it took a while to for people to really appreciate how strong they were. So while people were hating on Cell, Bardock was slowly just, you know, building tech and setups and all that in the dark, waiting for his time to come to limelight as a giant villain of Dragon Ball FighterZ. So when it comes to Bardock, why did people not like him? Well, one, the auto combo, and this is still unchanged, by the way. The auto combo, the second hit is, if we joked about Goku Black having the down heavy of the gods, and this is the auto combo of the gods. The second hit specifically, the first hit is like not too much to write home about, but the second hit specifically has an amazing hitbox. It rips people down to the ground, so even if you're airborne, you don't have to worry about, you know, jump canceling and getting a guy, right? It'll rip him down to the ground, so you don't have to worry about like your reaction check in that manner. And it's just really, really strong all around, and it hits so much more than it actually looks like. It can even hit behind him a little bit. Just very strong. Another thing is the classic Rebellion Spear into assist. Doesn't take much effort to do. A lot stronger with certain assists than others. Like, it's a lot stronger with Android 16 or Yamcha than it is with people at launch, because that'll leave them grounded. Just really strong move. By the time you could already see it happening, you either got hit by it or you didn't. You can't really react to it, so that made it very strong. It's been nerfed in some small manner, so if you are blocking, this used to be a true block string. Nowadays you can reflect out of the vanish hit, so you're not just in lockdown forever. But yeah, when it comes to Bardock, this was it. This was the reason everyone hated Bardock. If you played it all, you know, before the most recent patches, then hey, you know this, you hate it too, right? Effectively, what happened here is it doesn't work anymore mid-screen after the nerfs, but Bardock could get a multi-layer mix-up off this. In the corner, mid-screen didn't matter. So after the level 3, he could hit you with a plain old overhead, which is fine, also a safe jump. He could fake it into a low, or he can then fake that into a last second dash overhead. And also, depending on the setup, he could also last second cross up you, meaning it was near impossible to correctly guess, because they all looked so visually close to each other. For the most part, you just kind of had to guess, right? And generally speaking, it's always going to be at the end of any given combo. And at the end of any given combo, providing, you know, things went all right for you damage-wise, and I just dropped it, but whatever, I'm just talking right now, the mix-up was probably going to kill you. So, you already took a lot of damage from the combo, and hey, he's going to build at least one more bar over the course of the combo if he does successfully hit you, and thus, basically, the second this happens here is, when you see this, you are in immediate risk of losing your character. You guess wrong, you lost the character, on to the next one. And that's basically why everyone hated it. And conversely, why everyone hated Bardock. Now, really quickly, I do want to go to some honorable mentions here. Or perhaps, let's say, dishonorable mentions. So, the 3 characters I have picked now are definitely strong characters that had a lot of things people don't like about them. Let's use Kid Buu here as our first example. So, while Cell was reigning his terror on Dragon Ball FighterZ, and hashtag sellout was trending all over the planet. Maybe not, but at least in the Dragon Ball FighterZ community. Kid Buu was basically just as good as he was. Some might argue better as well. Kid Buu had ridiculous normals, ridiculous combos, ridiculous setups. God forbid, you guys see this? Does this still set you with a rage? Because it does with me. The old unseeable mix-up that you couldn't do anything about. Thankfully, that's a thing of the past. So if you were not aware of this specific setup, while you're blocking in the corner, you always had to be on the watch out that any random down medium into a pinwheel will cross you up and then you can get full comboed. It was literally that cut and dry. You can do this. Cool hit, vanish, full combo. and just go from there. Or if you did EX pinwheel, you can just get a full combo just straight up without having to vanish. Like stuff like that. The fact, like, he still has his amazing normals, and he used to just do a lot more damage than he does currently. When it comes to like a toolbox, his toolbox is maybe not as fully varied as Cell's was, but it was still among the better in the game. Still is too after all the nerfs. Kid Boo's still a great character, even after his first batch of nerfs. Like after the first batch of nerfs, everyone's like, "Oh, Kid Boo's done." Then just people start doing block strings that like light pinwheel to assist, and then keep going. And you still get your mix from there, right? So even after the first batch of nerfs, you couldn't bring this guy down, and it took another batch of nerfs and so on and so forth. And now people still think, at worst, he's still one of the better characters in the game. So it goes to show how far he has fallen. But Cell definitely ate all the bad press while he was kind of gliding by, not being overly too criticized by many people. Android 16. So here's a character, definitely some bad press, but never on the level of Bardock or Cell or anything like that. When Goku Black was the most hated character in the game, Android 16 was probably the best character in the game at that point, but no one paid him any mind. So while everyone complained about Goku Black's down heavy, Android 16 had not only all of his old mix-ups here off the level 3, which he no longer has. He had his stand heavy go through all projectiles in the game, which he no longer has, and as an Android 16 player, I personally miss that. He had his quarter circle forward light, which you can basically end any single combo in. That was a true knockdown, like a level 3. So you have to burn a level 3 to get a hard knockdown in this game. He literally had it off his regular grab. Like that plain grab you just saw right there was a true hard knockdown. And not only that, any combo in the corner became a mix-up because this would steal the corner, which no longer works right now, as you can see. So not only did you have to worry about the front mix-up, you also had to worry about a left-right mix-up while you're in the corner. So yeah, while everyone hated Goku Black early on, this guy was absolutely the single best character in the game. And no one really appreciated it at the time. So even after some nerfs and during mostly the Bardock meta, when Bardock was paired with Android 16 quite a bit, because he was basically one of the better assists off a random Rebellion Spear, that's when the kind of wave of resentment Android 16 finally started to come up, but it was absolutely nowhere near as strong as it was against the other characters we mentioned. So in the end, he's still a pretty good character. Like he definitely got nerfed pretty hard in the end. Like I've mained this character since day one. But yeah, is he a villain now? I think some people still have a little bit of resentment to him. But yeah, he's definitely not a villain. So Gotenks, aka Rat Boy. Rat Boy here, he's another guy who's definitely gone under the radar. Some people don't care for him, but he's never had much public distaste in his general area. And he had a lot of things going for him, like random EX spin, super plus on block into mix-up. A lot of people didn't appreciate how strong it was at the time. Some people used and abused it, to be sure, but it wasn't near as popular as it could have been. This move was still a decent move, don't get me wrong, but it was downright ridiculous before. And it's since been nerfed and just wasn't taken advantage of too much. The one big thing here right now, which is still very prevalent today, is the Ghost Oki. So you can do any given combo. There's a couple specific examples here. And you call Gotenks' delay kamikaze ghosts, and he can send these out at intervals. And basically he keeps you locked down and the pressure just doesn't stop, and he gets to keep mixing you up and going from there. That is still in the game right now, and he I think the tide's turning on him a little bit, but he definitely never quite got the attention the other characters did. Also, on a personal note, as someone who mains Broly, I hate him very dearly. He's probably my most hated character to fight Broly with because he's so little, and a lot of Broly's moves literally just go right over his head, and then I get hit, and I hate that stuff, and it bugs me. So that's my little personal rant on that. But with these said here, so these guys are dishonorable mentions, but there is one new villain that has appeared, and he has appeared very recently.
Who could it be?
It's me, Austin!
Oh, son of a bitch!
So, Piccolo. You want to go back earlier in the game's life? If you played Piccolo, you were basically a hero. Straight up. Piccolo is absolutely perceived as one of the weakest characters in the game for a multitude of reasons, and you know, he got some buffs, he got a little better, he got some buffs, and eventually got enough buffs where it kind of reached critical mass, and like people are like, yeah, hey, Piccolo's pretty good now, right? And then became the rise of the snapback meta, and this is stuff he could do since day one, technically. Like, nothing about this has really been changed. Like, he could do this on day one, it's just people never really thought about it that much, really. And then Piccolo turned from, you know, beloved Gohan's dad to hated, reviled, and spit upon. Because now, even though it's only been a short time since this meta has started, as of the time of making this video, people basically hate Piccolo now. And everything, even though he's not the only character that can do a lot of the snapback meta stuff, he's definitely the poster boy for it, and as such is now sort of semi-reviled for it. So even though he still has to work his way to it, he's always had some dumb stuff that a lot of people have let slip under the radar, like his absolutely ridiculous jump jab, which will basically let him win any air-to-air exchange, because it's going to be much faster than most people jump mediuming in. And also the hitbox, like, just looking at the animation, it doesn't tell you how absurd the hitbox is, but trust me when I say the hitbox on this is positively absurd. So he was always really good in a lot of different ways that a lot of people didn't take necessarily a lot of critical looking at. But yeah, nowadays, snapback meta, Hell Zone, guess the mix, guess wrong, I get a lot of bar, and I get the snappy, and we start all over again. Piccolo, he's got an image to clean up, let's put it that way. Now with Season 2 on the horizon, who knows how it's going to turn out, and we'll see how it all works out. But right now, Piccolo is the #1 bad guy in Dragon Ball FighterZ. And there you have it. So that's just for Season 1. Come Season 2, I'm sure we're going to have a whole new slew of villains with all the changes that come. Krillin and Yamcha will be the two most reviled characters in the game. And if you tell people you play Krillin and Yamcha, people are going to spit on you and don't want to talk to you anymore, right? But that's how it always turns. Regardless of perceived strength versus actual strength, you know, people get their feelings up, you know, fighting games are an emotional thing. So yeah, so that was our crop of villains over the course of Season 1 and Season 2. I'm sure we're going to have a whole new crop of villains for everyone to hate. Anyways, that's it for this video, so thank you very much for watching. I hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some Dragon Ball.